Hey, what's good, people? Arsenal get a draw 2-2, and that means that they qualify. And not just that, but they actually win the group now over Standard Liège. And it was quite a disparity to the first game, and I kind of was expecting that when you consider that two things are going on here with this current team. Actually, let's say three. One, obviously, the bad form that we're in, so that's one factor. Two, the first game, which was at home at the Emirates, we won 4-0, which was very convincing. But in that game, we had, obviously, Martinelli scored 2 goals, and Torreira was in there as well. And a lot of these guys have made their way into the first team for different reasons. So you're going to see that lack of quality, that lack of drop-off in this new setup in Europa. So Arsenal win the group without winning any of their last 3 games, and they win the group by 2 points. So that goes to show you how different the Europa is in comparison to the Champions League. Even when you score 10 points, there's still a chance that you might not make the preliminary rounds of the Champions League. But yet, in the Europa Cup, you cannot win your last 3 games and still win the group by a clear 2 points. Such is the level of the Europa League. But this is what I didn't really like yesterday. While I was watching the game, we were 1-0 down. There was such negative feedback from the fans. I mean, look, I know this team isn't playing well at the moment. And as I explained, a lot of the backup team, as you'd like to call them, or the youth team, some of the players have been promoted to the first team. It's that, and I've talked about this before in our normal games, the level of support. Arsenal's fans need to be the 12th man. And we've seen all this stuff that's going on social media with Arsenal fans being too negative and everything. We've got to be better than that, man. We've got to be above that. We seem like, for some reason, as things are not going well, it lessens our support. And that's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to be the way of the fans. When your team's not doing well, that's when they need you. That's when they are mostly at their time of need. And that's when the fans should be stronger in their support. And I believe that. But I'm hearing things like, I don't want to go to the games anymore and I can't be bothered, and oh, I didn't watch the game, I couldn't be bothered, I had something else to do. And that kind of shocked me yesterday when I was on Twitter and on Facebook, and I just saw the lack of interest in the game. And you know what? I guess that's the fault of the players, but at the end of the day, I say back your team. And the reason why you hear me keep saying that is because I strongly believe that that's something that fans should do regardless of the results, and regardless of where the league position is, regardless of how well you're doing. It's your team. If you love the club, then you should back them regardless of what they're doing. And even worse, if they're not doing well, that's when they need you. They don't need you to stick the boot in. Do you understand what I'm saying? When things are going wrong. I just never understood that. And maybe that's just me. Maybe because I am a hardened, positive Arsenal fan. And all this negativity is something that I don't like to surround myself in. Because I think it's bad for the supporters. I think it's bad for the club. And I don't think it does anything that will help them. Although, yeah, there's a difference between being negative and there's a difference in constructive criticism. And when we lose, you guys see my videos and I talk about all the reasons why we've failed and all the reasons why we're doing well. Criticizing is one thing. Just ranting for the sake of ranting, and the manager should leave and the manager should go and we should get rid of all 11 of our players and suit nobody else up for the next game. It just doesn't make sense in the mix of things. The people that are here playing for the club, they might not be the best. They might be an average bunch of players, but there are a bunch of players, and there are a bunch of players that need your support. Some of the expectations of the fan base is way off the scale. Yeah, and I never understood that. We should win the league. We should win the league. We should win the league. Why should we win the league? Because we're Arsenal? That doesn't make no sense. That doesn't give us a right to win the league. If you've not invested and you've not got the best talent around and you've not got the best coaches and the best managers, why would Arsenal fans expect to win trophies or even be in the top four? Because trophies that done. Trophies left town when Arsene Wenger went, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, because he was the trophy meister. But yet, since he's gone, we've been falling further and further away from the top four that we've ever been. But look, yesterday, I say this because it wasn't entirely a negative game. We didn't play well, of course. Again, this was much like the West Ham game on Monday night. We didn't play well. They only had 11 shots on goal and 4 on target. And the 2 goals were both deflected. And of course, they count for goals. But how unlucky can you be? It's just unlucky. Yeah, Leno would have been able to do a better job with them had they not been deflected. So this is not entirely our fault to blame. They were goals that came out of nowhere for the best part. And then we're 2-0 down, and much like the West Ham game, where we scored 3 goals in 9 minutes, in this game, we scored 2 goals in 3 minutes to get back into the game. And it just shows that some of the fight that these guys are trying. And they nearly went on to win the game. But I think that the lack of confidence that some of these guys had to come back and get a draw and qualify for the group, I think that was, I'll take that. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world, because it wasn't. But I'll take that. But the mood on social media afterwards, seriously, I just had to switch off. And I had a few movie reviews to write and TV show reviews to write. So I just went on and got along with my business. So let's talk about the managerial role at the moment and how things are panning out. Now, you guys have heard me talk about I've got a top 5, and you know what? At the end of the day, I would prefer Marcus Rose, yeah, because of what he did at Borussia Mönchengladbach, because of how he plays, his system, how articulate this guy is, and he's a nice young talent, and he reminds me of where some of these great young managers have come from. Enrique, Guardiola, even Pochettino, how he was coming up. It reminds me of some of these great managers, even Mourinho, where he was coming up. And in my opinion, guys, if you understand the board and the Arsenal front office and the ethics, and these guys have sat down and talked to the media about where they're looking to go and what direction they're trying to build, that's the type of manager they're looking for. They're not looking for the old has-beens who's been doing the roundabouts around the UK or around Europe. They're not really looking for that type of manager. And I think they're at a crossroads now, because they didn't plan for this. They didn't plan for Emery to fail the way he did. And in saying that, they had no plan B. Yes, it's their fault, but at the same time, they put all their eggs in one basket, which is a shame, because considering that this is a new setup, normally what an owner does, or a technical director, and remember, these guys have only just been plugged together, but what a technical director and a director of football, and what they normally do is, they normally know who their next 2 managers are. They really do. They have their top 3, and if they miss out on one target and then their manager's sacked, they know exactly who they're going to call. Chelsea knew that with Conte and Sarri. Okay, Man United didn't know it, but Manchester City did. And it's really weird, because you have to understand where you are in the market and your value in the market as a team. And I think that that's what's let Arsenal down. So when you hear people talking about the Kroenkes, the only thing they've done wrong, in my opinion, is, and this is Josh, is he just hasn't had any other plan B in case Emery capitulated. And obviously things went wrong. Emery had to go. And we're in a situation now where they've told Freddie Ljungberg that you're the interim manager day by day, game by game. So anything can change. And I think Ancelotti presents a bit of an issue for the club, because while I'm sure the fans would love him, and I wouldn't mind if he managed Arsenal myself, he's a very good, deep and veteran coach. He'll bring you results, he'll give you structure, and he'll get the players playing, and that's what we want. But what we don't want is a has-been short-term manager. And I don't really think that Arsenal have any choice at the moment, because what if you do get somebody who's young, an Arteta, a Marco Rose or someone like that, and then that doesn't work? I mean, look, you just got Emery, who was a man who won 10 trophies in the last 5 years in Europe, could just come off the treble at PSG. You had somebody like him, and it didn't work. So, you know, you've got to set your bar at a certain manner of what you can actually do. Now, I ruled out the Pochettino because, you know, I've heard some inside talk, which I haven't really elaborated on. I don't think that, I'd be surprised if he takes a job until next summer because of the way his contract is. But unfortunately, Ancelotti doesn't have no contract restraints with Napoli. There's no payoff, there's no compensation or anything to that matter. So he's free to join Arsenal as any time. Free to step in, free to negotiate a contract. And I think that that would be something lucrative. But in saying that, what if this, and nobody's giving Freddie a chance right now. People coming out on social media saying, this is too big for Freddie. I'm not going to mention any names, you know who they are. They've come out and said, this is too big for Freddie. It's too much for him. He's in over his head. The guy's had a week in charge. The man's barely managed a week to 2 weeks in charge of the club. And he's had 3 games. He's won 1, he's drawn 1, he's lost 1. You're barely giving him a chance to plant his feet. And you're saying that he ain't manager material. How do we know that? He's already had stints at Wolfsburg and Seattle in the USA. He's been managing the under-21 team. He's been standing behind Emery all season. How do we know that he isn't going to be the next best thing for us? How do we know that? Unless we give him a chance. Look, man, I'm just trying to be positive about this whole situation, because all I'm getting is a lot of no, and a lot of stuff where we don't even look like we're going to try yet. We're in a position which is favourable to try something new first, at least. Yeah? We're in a position to try something different. So, personally, I would give Freddie until Christmas. I'd probably give him the next 4 or 5 games to see what he can do. And then, in the meantime, I will talk to Ancelotti to say, look, if things don't go the way how we need them to go, then you can step in January and take the reins of the team, and we'll work with you for the transfer market, etc. But I think that we need to be careful with our next move. We really do. And I don't think we should rush into anything. I think Freddie gives us that stability and that cushion where we could sit back and make the right decision and not just have a knee-jerk reaction to a manager and hire the wrong person. So in saying that, looking forward to City on Sunday, and I don't think it's going to go the way that we would want it to go. But again, I'd love to be surprised. I'd like to see a nice team sheet like last week, and I'd like to see 11 players on there that are running and busting their gut for Freddie, and that's all I can ask for. Yeah, whatever the score will be is what it will be. What I want to see is 11 players fighting for Freddie Ljungberg, fighting for the fans, and fighting for the badge. That, if I see that, I'm good. I'm happy to go with that. Yeah? So that's it from me, guys. Back your team. Right back at you, man. Peace out.